Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Voices of Forestry podcast. I'm your host, Seth Stevenson, the communications coordinator with the Arkansas Forestry Association. And this month, we are back to discuss the Arkansas Environmental Education Association. Before I introduce my guest this month, let me give a special shout out and thank you to our sponsors, F&W Forestry, for their support of the show. We're going to hear a little bit more from them later on in this episode. But for now, let me introduce our new voice of forestry this month, Sophia Stevenson, no relation, the executive director of the Arkansas Environmental Education Association. Sophia, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, Seth.
And I should say this, we were talking about this before we started recording. So I know, Sophia, there are other stuff that we do, and if you hear me say Sophie, that's just kind of what friends and family call her, so I'm not getting her name wrong, I promise. So it may slip that I'll say Sophie throughout this, and that's totally okay. We got the approval before we started recording. So, well, Sophie, let's just hop into it if you don't mind. Since you are new, can you just kind of let the people know what your professional history is? Like, how did you get to be in this position?
I went to college at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, and when I enrolled, I really had no idea what I wanted to do other than I knew I enjoyed being outside. So I enrolled as a biology major and realized that was tailored a lot towards pre-med students. And so I was dabbling in some different courses and took a soil judging course and loved it. And so I switched my major to environmental soil and water science and had a lot more field courses and just enjoyed that degree program. But somewhere in my fifth year of a 4-year program, I realized there was a field called environmental education. And the U of A at that time did not have a degree in environmental education. So it was either switching to education or sticking with environmental soil and water science. So I stuck with that, and I have a bachelor's degree in environmental soil and water science. After college, I did internships in environmental education and got some professional skills that way through different organizations. I moved to other states and learned a lot more about environmental education through that avenue and found that that was really where my passion was.
So you kind of have a very typical beginning of you knew you wanted to be outside. That seems to be one thing that we hear a lot from folks in our industry. So what were some of the states, if you don't mind sharing with us, what were some of the states that you did kind of work in or travel to and learn from?
I went to New Mexico and I lived at the Randall Davy Audubon Center in Santa Fe.
Okay.
And I did an internship there, which was wonderful. And I got to learn birds that live west of the Rocky Mountains. So that was really new to me and a really fun experience, a totally different ecosystem than what we have in Arkansas. And from there, I moved to New Hampshire and I worked on an educational farm. And we did programs around agriculture and farming, as well as forest ecology and stream ecology. And so that one had quite a broad variety of programming that we did.
Mhm. So was it mainly because, like you said, New Mexico's vastly different than Arkansas or even New Hampshire for that matter. So I guess was it mainly just kind of learning or gathering the tools that you're using now? Was that kind of what you garnered from those opportunities?
It was getting hands-on experience in action, right? Being in the field, in the field in this way, not doing research, but working directly with learners and understanding more of the process of how environmental education works. And since I was new to it and I thought I was interested in it, but I still wasn't quite sure what it entailed, I really looked for job openings in places that I wanted to visit.
Okay,
So
fair.
I I applied to places around the country, and the Audubon Center was the first place that hired me. And I had a fantastic director who provided a lot of support and mentoring, and I think that really set me in motion.
So when did you come to the Arkansas Environmental Education Association?
I've been a member for quite a few years, and I even helped on some of the committees with different events like the conference, which used to be called the EE Expo. I came to this position as director in 2018, and I started part-time and was told, we have a conference in June, we have the location, we have the theme, go. So that was the first part of my first year. And from there, we've expanded it, expanded the programming, as well as expanded the time that I work.
Okay. Well, let's kind of talk about the association, and I'm going to probably refer to it from here on out. I'm realizing as AEA instead of the full name, if that's okay. So, Sophie, what is the Arkansas Environmental Education Association?
We're a statewide nonprofit that exists to support and promote environmental education. So it started really as a professional association to bring together the different players around the state who were in environmental education. And there was the recognition that when folks came together and different organizations or different agencies came together and worked together, they could really leverage different skills, different resources they had, and have a greater impact. So our association started for that reason, started with just different convenings to come together and have a bigger impact around the state. And and since then we've grown to support the field in various different ways. But really our goal is supporting, advocating, promoting, and advancing environmental education. And when I say environmental education, that can incorporate outdoor education as well. But it's not always outdoors. It can be indoors, it can be outdoors, it can be a variety of different ages, and it can be with different subject areas as well.
So, what are, I guess, some of the specifics that you guys are doing? I know you partner with Project Learning Tree is something that you guys use. Project Wet and Project Wild, I know, is another thing that you guys use. But what are some of the, I guess, the specific things that you guys are doing across the state to help provide or advocate or support the environmental education stuff in Arkansas?
The biggest thing we do is professional development for educators, and that can be through a few different avenues. We have an in-person conference every year. We have we're the host for Project Wet, so we have workshops for Project Wet. And then recently, within the past few years, we've added online courses as well. So we provide professional development for classroom teachers and non-formal educators and help them build skills and resources and knowledge so that they can incorporate environmental education.
Okay.
We also do some community programming. We have things like mini grants that go to schools and nonprofits. We recognize outstanding educators who incorporate environmental education into what they're doing as a way to kind of highlight um, folks who are doing exceptional work within the field. We partner with Arkansas Forestry Association Education Foundation on our Green Careers Expo. And then we provide resources for incorporating environmental education. And so those are through things like our Outside for Five campaign that we've done the past few springs, and providing additional resources to help show the benefits of environmental and outdoor education.
Okay. And so you guys started, or the association started in 96, and you've only been there since 18. And even since 18, you said you guys have seen some growth. But how have things changed since the inception of this association?
Moving from a volunteer-led organization to having paid staff has allowed us to increase programming. Our conference used to be every other year, and now we hold that every year. And we've also expanded the programs that we offer. So the online courses are something that is a new offering within the past couple of years. And the technology available in order to do that and to do it well is something that has changed since the organization began. It used to be that everything had to be in person. And as much as I enjoy being in person and like that format for workshops, having the ability to use technology for our advantage is really helpful. It allows us to reach more folks around the state so that we can have an online course that lasts 8 weeks as opposed to only in-person workshops. And we've also expanded the mini grants that we offer. I'm not sure what year that part of the programming began, but it started with just 2 mini grants, and one for a school and one for a nonprofit. And since then, we've expanded it some, and our membership has grown as well.
And who do your members consist of? You don't have to be specific, but like what types of people exactly are we talking about are members of AEA?
We have classroom teachers and non-formal educators primarily. So
Okay.
non-formal educators are those who work at nature centers, zoos, government agencies, nonprofits. And then we have some individuals who are more involved with research, might not consider themselves educators, but still their research or their field work supports environmental education. And then we have folks who are involved with education as volunteers, like master naturalists, who have a requirement to do volunteer hours, and some of them do education for that. So those folks also make up some of our members. It is primarily educators of different sorts.
Okay. Okay. And Sophie, one last question before we kind of hop over to a break here. And this may be a stupid question, but I want to ask it anyways. How important is it to have a group like yourself or just any group providing education materials, and in you guys' case, environmental education materials to teachers? How important is it to have or how important is it to an educator to have an avenue such as you guys to get those materials to then pass on to the students?
We become a hub of resources. So it is a way for educators to know where to look. And those resources might be curriculum support, or it might be funding support, or it might be other partners to collaborate with. So knowing where to go, whether that's our website or a newsletter or just reaching out with a question, I think makes it a lot easier for an educator who wants to get started or wants to expand what they do for environmental education. And then having support around that and having a community to ask questions and bounce ideas off of. And I know that I benefit from that kind of community myself professionally, having other folks I can go to and ask if they've ever tried something. Does it work? What would you do differently? And so we can provide that for educators in Arkansas.
It's almost, and this may be me editorializing a little bit, but it's almost like you get a teacher who's very excited about environmental education and just having an easy way to figure out where to even begin really helps kind of move that train along. Because if it's too hard to find, I mean, teachers are already overworked as it is. If it's too hard to find, they may just kind of back away or lose some of that excitement that they would have been able to pass on to their students. So it's just kind
Mhm.
of an easy avenue, I guess, to get information and resources.
Right. So those teachers who are excited or have an idea they want to implement in their school, we want to be able to give them that next step of where do they go or where could they find funding for a school garden or a field trip that they want to take or something like that, so that they don't get stuck in that overwhelm or feeling like there's some kind of barrier to it. And so how can we help them move that forward?
Okay. Well, Sophie, I'll tell you what, we're going to take a quick break, right? Excuse me. We're going to take a quick break right here, hear a little bit more from our sponsors this month, FNW Forestry. FNW Forestry Services has been maximizing the value and enjoyment of clients' land since 1962. Whether the objectives are economic, aesthetic, environmental, or recreational, they work with landowners to create a personalized plan for success. With offices throughout the U.S., including in El Dorado, FNW's knowledgeable forestry professionals are familiar with regional markets and provide services at the local level. They are proud of their reputation for consistently providing quality results in handling timber sales, property management, field support, forest inventory and mapping, real estate, and forest land accounting. So whether you are a private landowner or a large organization, FNW has the experience to serve your needs. To learn more about FNW, visit their website at fwforestry.com. Thank you again to FNW Forestry for their support of the show. So we're in the tail end, or tail half, I guess is where I was going, of our conversation here, Sophie. And you mentioned that you are kind of a staff of one. It is you, the executive director, kind of the full-time staff of AEA. So what are some of the challenges that you face when it comes to providing some of the services that the association is trying to provide to educators across the state?
The capacity to have the time to do all the programming that I want to do is a real challenge. I see that there's interest. I see that there's a need to have more workshops or offer more online courses. I would love to expand our mini grant program, and all of those currently are constrained by having a staff of one. We have a fantastic board of directors who are active on our action teams, but if we had a program director who could have workshops on a regular basis, I think that that would really meet more of the need that teachers have.
And so the guy guess this is where partnerships come into play, and this is me teeing myself up to get into the partnership that, like you mentioned before, that you have with us in our Green Careers Expo, which we just held here in October. We've been doing that for a couple years now. So, how important is it to have partners like Rob at our Education Foundation or other folks to help accomplish some of the goals that you guys have at AEA?
Partnerships are vital to what we do. It really helps us expand the network of folks we're working with. Rob has a different network of individuals that he knows and works with on a more regular basis than I have. So when the two of us team up together, he has folks he can reach out to, and I have folks I can reach out to. It also just shares the workload of what needs to be done anytime there is an event or initiative that we want to accomplish. And so it helps us meet our mission by partnering with other organizations. And we also see that AEA isn't the only one to offer environmental education. We see ourselves more as a network builder of all these different organizations and providers of environmental education around the state. So if we can just help build that network and the communication and the collaboration, then we can see that all of us together can have a huge impact on environmental education around the state.
So one thing we talk about a lot on the show is the camaraderie, I guess is a good word, that forestry, specifically all of the forestry organizations, have with each other, and the willingness to work together with everyone. Do you see that kind of same camaraderie when it comes to the education side of things?
Absolutely. I see it within the state and I see it nationally. AEA is the state affiliate for the North American Association for Environmental Education. And so the affiliates have a network that spans the United States and Canada. And within that network, we share lots of resources and ideas. We'll collaborate on writing grants together. And really, there are programs that we do, such as the Outside for Five that I mentioned, and some guidance on outdoor learning that we developed during COVID that really was possible because of that collaboration and resource sharing. And also our EE courses that we currently offer. That really is available because we all work together.
Okay. So I kind of want to talk the first second about, I'd be remiss, and Rob would probably be not too thrilled if I didn't talk about the Green Careers Expo that we do together. So can you just kind of, I know this was 4 or 5 years ago, I think is when he came up with that idea. What was
Mhm.
your kind of reaction, or what were your initial thoughts when he reached out saying, "Hey, here's my idea. Here's something I want to do. Are you in?"
I was all for it. I see that environmental education really can be this avenue to help students see the possibilities of jobs in Arkansas that give them a sense of value in their work. And like just on a statistical side, there are industries like water treatment industries where folks are aging out. And so there's just a basic need for more people being trained to fill those gaps. But there's also a lack of awareness of what is available as a student. I had no idea in high school what was available. And so the idea of being able to showcase that to Arkansas students and continue on with these careers, continue to have, you know, a path for students to see themselves in these careers, I thought was a great idea. And being able to host it around the state so that we can meet different audiences and their needs, I really liked the idea. And
And
I
I
was,
think,
yeah, happy to collaborate on it.
and I think too. So just a quick rundown of what the Green Careers Expo is, if I haven't explained that on the show. It's an expo where we invite exhibitors in the green jobs sector to come and essentially talk with students in a certain area of the state, tell them what they do, give them the show them the opportunities available to them, to those kids who also just want to be outside and work when they get older. Just kind of show them what's out there when it comes to green jobs for when they graduate. To again, I mean, I grew up in a rural school system, and I didn't realize that there were some of the jobs out there that there are. And you'd imagine, in a rural Arkansas school, you'd probably learn a little bit more about that, but that just wasn't the case. So we're showcasing different opportunities, different career opportunities to students all across the state. It travels every year to a different location in Arkansas. This last year we were in South Arkansas and El Dorado, or this year we were in El Dorado. We've been to the Springdale area. We've been to the Monticello area and
Russellville.
Russellville. That's right, the Central River Valley area. So
Mhm.
it's just designed to travel across the state and reach as many students as possible. And it's also meant to hit as many students in the sense that, someone who's in the 11th grade now won't see this program again in theory, because it'll take some time to come back around to that location. So we're just trying to make sure we're not inundating students every year, because then they start losing interest.
Mhm.
I That's exactly what happened with me with stuff like that. So that's what the Green Cruise Expo is, and we've been working with Sophie and a lot of other partners too to make that happen year after year. Um, so Sophie, one other thing that I want to talk to you about real quick is kind of on a more personal note for you. Why is it? I know you said you kind of fell in love with environmental education in college, but why is it that you do what you do? Why is it that you continue to come back and do these programs and do this job day after day?
Really, a big part of it is the community I work with. You were talking about camaraderie, and community is something that comes up for me a lot when I think about environmental education and the people I work with, and that sense not only of who you work with, but having the information and the agency to positively benefit your community is part of environmental education. And so it's this avenue of not only learning about the natural world, whether you're inside or outside, but having these opportunities to be amazed by things in the natural world, and then using that information to have a positive benefit. And it also has a positive benefit on us individually. More and more research is showing how it can contribute to wellness, whether that's physical or mental health. And so that benefit for students, for educators, is so great. And then for me to be able to experience that myself personally, or be able to support other people in that professionally, brings a lot of value to me.
Okay. So what's next for AEA? What's the future look like for the association?
I see that there is still a huge need for the programs that we offer, and expanding those programs would be great, whether that's our mini grant program or professional development. I see that with with the governor's outdoor education initiative, that we could play a strong role in supporting teachers and schools in participating in that. And so I see increasing our partnerships, as you mentioned, so that we can really have a greater impact and reach more communities around the state.
So, and real quick, Sophie, just something that kind of popped into my head is, what is it? I guess, are there any challenges in reaching some of these schools? I know with internet and better connectivity from that standpoint, it might be a little easier. But are there any challenges with reaching maybe some of the smaller districts that Arkansas for sure has scattered throughout the state?
I think part of it is awareness
Mm-hmm.
that we exist as an organization because we are small, and also an understanding of what environmental education is. And so sometimes it's seen as an extra add-on, which schools already have plenty to address, but understanding how it can be incorporated in and just part of the education system and part of the way a school operates or a community operates. So it's not an extra, it's just part of. And so I think that change in how you think about it, so then being able to incorporate it is a challenge. People often think of us as just for science teachers because they hear environmental education and think it's for the environmental science teacher only, which is not at all true. We're for any subject area and any grade level. It's a matter of how that's incorporated into the curriculum.
Okay. So if anyone has any questions, or if there are any educators out there who are curious about kind of getting involved or finding some of these resources, what's the best way for them to reach out?
They can go to our website, arkansasee.org. They could sign up for our newsletter, and there's a link on our website, or they could email us at info@arkansasee.org and ask any questions they have. Sign up for our newsletter and kind of get a taste of what we're about. And then they're welcome to come to our conference next year in early March in Fairfield Bay. We'll be celebrating our 30th anniversary and incorporating some of our founding members in that event and highlighting why the organization formed and how we've changed. Some of these questions you've been asking today will be part of our conference in March.
Great. Then that means I'm just way on top of it, more so than usual today. So great. Well, and we'll make sure to have the website to you guys linked in the description of this episode for anyone that's curious. And again, we say it probably month after month. The best thing you can do if you're curious, pick up a telephone, give someone a call, because there's always someone, especially in our industry, more than willing to help get you to where you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to be the same case here.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Sophie, is there anything else you would like to add, or anything, that we didn't discuss that you want to discuss real quick before we wrap things up?
I think we have covered a good overview of
Okay.
AEEA, and I appreciate it. But I really do encourage any folks who have questions or curiosities to call or email or check our website.
Okay. All right. We'll do. And yep, we'll have that link in the description of this episode. Make it super easy for folks to reach out. So, Sophie, thank you so much again for doing this and coming onto the show. I know we talked about this at the expo here a couple months ago, and I think I told you I got you on a little sooner than I thought I would. We had some things happen, and Sophie was able to help us make this month's episode. So thank you so much for doing this.
Well, thank you, Seth.
All right. And we want to thank you guys for joining us this month as well. As always, we've got a link to some guy named Rob / Rob McCormick. We thank him for the use of our theme song, The Same Love. It's off of his album, The Folkster. You can find more of his music at that link there in the description of this episode. And we want to thank FNW Forestry, our sponsors this month, one last time. Thank you so much to them for their continued support of the show. So make sure you join us next month when we'll have a new topic, a new discussion, and a new Voice of Forestry.